Right now, let's get to some Premier League picks. Talking a little soccer. We've got Nick Geber joining us. Just a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page and hit the bell for notifications every time we post a new video. Let's start with the Wolves and Leicester City. Leicester City is having a bit of a tough go of it lately, but they're still plus 153 in this one. Wolves plus 174, and the draw is plus 223. Are we biting on the draw in this one?
Oh, yes, we are, Chelsea. Now, look, this is at Molineux, which is the home for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Leicester City been flying high this season under Brendan Rodgers. This is a really good young squad, full of themselves, very talented, can get a lot done. But, it is a long season. 38 games, and they are definitely, it starts to grind on you if you don't have a particularly deep squad. And of course, Leicester City don't have the deepest of squads. Plus, they've been a little unfortunate in their scheduling over the last few weeks. They have only really lost 6 games all season. That's 6 out of 25. They haven't drawn all that many. They've really been terrific. They've had the unfortunate position, though, in the last few weeks of playing Liverpool twice and Manchester City, and they dropped points to all of them. However, having said that, they've got 2 wins, 2 wins, a loss, and a draw in their last 5. They've come off a boil a bit. Man City have overtaken them in the title race. They're now second, although no one's catching Liverpool. And Wolverhampton Wanderers, look, I really like this side. They play some beautiful football. Sometimes they play football that's too beautiful for their own good and they get beat. They generally play a very nice, expansive, flowing type of game. They've got a couple of great players, Adama Traore being just an absolute wonder to behold. But they've been in trouble the last 6 games. Only 1 win, 3 losses, and 2 draws. But I do like this at Molineux, Chelsea. I like Wolverhampton Wanderers for the draw against Leicester City for a juicy plus 223.
223. Nice value on that one. Let's move on to Arsenal, Newcastle. Arsenal, the favorites in this one, minus 200. Newcastle is plus 484, and the draw is plus 334. So what is the play on this one?
Well, Chelsea, Arsenal shouldn't be the favourites for anything, honestly, except for a new owner, because this team is owned by Stan Kroenke, who I'm sure everyone here in America knows is one of the world's worst sports team owners. And he took a legendary sports club, Arsenal Football Club, and have made an absolute shambles out of them. They tore down their beautiful traditional home, Highbury, put a bunch of luxury flats on there, and built a brand new stadium, the Emirates, which is completely devoid of any footballing soul whatsoever. But they do have a nice stadium. They have a lousy team, though. And they fired Unai Emery earlier on in the season when he wasn't getting it done. They brought in Mikel Arteta, and he's not really getting it done. Arsenal are what we call, Chelsea, draw specialists right now in the league. They have 6 wins, 6 losses, and 13 draws on the season. They find themselves in 10th place. This is a far cry from the once great team that was so far the only invincible team ever in the Premier League. That's right, so far the only team in Premier League history to win the league and never be beat. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And they are facing a Newcastle United side that has been on a bit of a resurgence, find themselves in solid mid-table. They have 3 draws, a loss, and a win in the last 5. Arsenal have 4 draws and a win in the last 5. Guess what I'm taking on this one, Chelsea?
I'm going to guess the draw.
Well, I think you guessed quite rightly. This has draw written all over it. Look, there's nothing about Arsenal Football Club that I like right now, and I have no bone to pick, no beef to grind with Arsenal. They're not Manchester United. I don't hate them. In fact, growing up, most of my friends were Arsenal supporters, or their parents were on the board of directors and all that sort of stuff. So, been around Arsenal a lot in my lifetime. They're on North London side, but they are just such a disaster of a football club right now. Pierre Aubameyang, who's their best player, is likely to be poached in the summer. We'll have to see what's going to happen, but things do not look good for the Gunners, that's for sure. And for Newcastle United, they've got to be very, very happy campers finding themselves in mid-table, pulling away from that awful gravitational pull of the dreaded, nasty drop zone. Newcastle United look like they are free and clear. They have to get to 40 points. That's 9 more and they only have 13 more games. I think they should do it, Chelsea. So I'm taking the draw on this one.
Right, and it's plus 334, so that's really good value in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take all your kids' college fund money, okay? All your rainy day savings money. Take everything. Borrow, but max out the credit cards. Put everything
man.
on. No, don't ever do that, by the way. That's just a joke. No, it's a good, solid bet. Really, Arsenal, an absolute disaster. But Newcastle, I think, still going to have a tough time beating them. So I don't know what that says. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. Chelsea, Manchester United. Chelsea is minus 113 in this one. Manchester United is plus 325, and the draw is plus 260. What do we like?
Well, I'll tell you what we like on this one. I was going to take the draw, quite frankly, Chelsea, and then I started thinking about this some more. I remember a few weeks ago, I said I was done giving any picks with Manchester United in them because they were so inconsistent. You just never knew what you're going to get with this Manchester United squad. I mean, Chelsea, this team, Manchester United, in the 2000s, dominated the Premier League. Every year, this team won the Premier League. This was far the best team in England by a long shot. You could guarantee they would be fighting for the title every year. Of course, under legendary manager Sir Alex Ferguson, who, as a Liverpool supporter, I will take my hat off to him. I met Sir Alex a number of times. He's an absolutely delightful, charming man. He was the backbone, the spirit, and the soul of this club. And when he retired, of course, it's just been an absolute shambles. But we see that a lot in Chelsea with many other sports clubs, right? When you have a legendary manager or coach retire, there's always this sort of difficult transition period. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Definitely the case with a lot of teams, and it's hard to fill that void because they're not someone that's easy to replace, and there's a reason that they're legendary because they were there for so long. And then the fan base gets impatient. We saw that with the Tennessee Vols here close to Nashville. They're in Knoxville. But since Phil Fulmer left, they haven't had a head coach for probably more than 3 years. So I definitely get that sentiment. But let's get back to football. What are you taking in this one?
Well, I'm not there yet, Chelsea. I'm not there. We've still got time, don't we? How much time do we have?
We have time.
Okay, all right, because I lost track of time. I'm glad you're keeping track of time because I'm certainly not. Well, okay, maybe I am. All right, we do have time. We've got about 3 minutes here. So look, let me tell you about this game. Manchester United are an absolute shambles, as I mentioned. They had a nice couple of games where they beat Newcastle United 4-1 at home. They beat Burnley 2-0 away, and then they lost 2-0 to Arsenal, which they should be ashamed of themselves. Then they beat Norwich 4-0, but Norwich are the worst team in the league. My kids' basketball team could beat Norwich 4-0. And then all of a sudden, things went bad. They had that big derby match against their hated rivals, Liverpool, and they lost that 2-0, and then everyone was saying, okay, well, we'll forgive Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager, because, it's Liverpool, and they're the best team in the world right now, and that happens. But it was followed up with a 2-0 loss at home against Burnley. Okay, this was an absolute disgrace. So bad, Chelsea, that the fans walked out in the second half of this game. Old Trafford was empty. This never happens. I cannot remember in my 50-plus years of watching football that ever happened. It did happen. And then, shocker of shock, at Old Trafford, a 0-0 draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So Man United are just an absolute, they are a dumpster fire, to put it not too impolitely. And on the other side of the equation, Chelsea Football Club, they're having a little bit of a rough time of late, actually. They've had 3 poor results. They were beaten by Newcastle away. They had a 2-2 draw against Arsenal. I know what I just said about Arsenal, but trust me. And we got a run here, I know. And then a 2-2 draw against Leicester. But Arsenal, Leicester, decent sides. Man United, not. Chelsea, I'm taking Chelsea for the win.
All right. Thanks, Nick, for joining us for those soccer picks. When we get back from the break, we are talking more basketball, this time of the college variety. We're back on Picks and Parlays after the break.